So you've created a game for this headset using Unreal Engine, and now you want to package it to this headset so it can run as a standalone application. This tutorial is going to cover that process. Hi, my name is Quinn Kuslich, I'm a professional VR developer, and today I'm going to walk you through the process of creating standalone Android packages for the Oculus Quest 3. If this is your first time doing VR development with Unreal, I really urge you to follow my beginner Quest tutorial for Unreal Engine. It covers installing the engine, downloading the MetaQuest Link application, and linking it up with Unreal, and it's kind of necessary for you to be able to do this tutorial. It's important that you understand the basics before you take on Android packaging with Unreal. The first thing we need to do is create a Meta developer account. Go down to the first link in my description and go to this page, developers.meta.com. And you're going to log into your account. If you have an existing Facebook account or an Oculus account, you're going to log into that one here. And you're basically just going to make sure that you have a Meta account because you need that in order to do our next step, which is to put the Quest into developer mode. We need to put this headset into developer mode so we can sideload the applications we package out of Unreal onto it. You do this with your phone once you've set up a Meta developer account. The steps go as follows. You're going to install the MetaQuest app on your phone and log into it with your Meta account. You're going to connect your Meta headset to that account if you haven't already. Then you're going to go to the headset icon in the top left of the MetaQuest Horizon application. Here you're going to find your headset, which is already connected. Inside of this little thing that comes up, you're going to click Headset Settings, and then you're going to go to Developer Mode. There's going to be a little slider here that allows you to take your headset in and out of developer mode. You're going to want to turn that on. This headset needs to be in developer mode. And that is step 1 completed. For the next step, we need to install Unreal Engine if you haven't already, and also we need to make sure that Android is configured inside of your Unreal Engine install. What you're going to do is download and install the Epic Games launcher, and then you're going to log in with your Epic Games account. You're going to go over to Library, and this is where you're going to see all the versions of Unreal Engine you've installed and the applications that you've made with Unreal Engine. As you can see here, I've got 5.3.2, 5.5.3, and 5.4.4, and then I have 5.5.3 set as my main launch. This is the version of Unreal Engine that we're going to be using for this tutorial, so I would prefer, if you want this to work correctly and have no errors, just make sure that you use Unreal 5.5.3, and then we also need to make sure that Android is installed. If you haven't installed Unreal before, you're just going to go up to this little plus icon where it says Engine Versions Plus, and then here you can actually select the version of Unreal Engine that you're going to install, and then you just want to select 5.5.3. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that. But if you've already installed 5.5.3 and you haven't configured Android, you're going to need to go into the installed version of 5.5.3. You're going to click this little drop down, select Options, and then you're going to see the core components and all the other stuff that goes into Unreal. This is where you can kind of like customize what you're installing into the engine when you install it. We need to make sure that for target platforms, underneath that, we need to make sure that Android is checked, because the Quest is an Android device, meaning its operating system is an Android device, and therefore to build applications for it, we need to make sure that Unreal Engine is configured to build to Android. So basically you're going to select Android and then you just click Apply and wait for that to install. So we confirmed that we have a Meta developer account, we've put our headset into developer mode, and we've installed the proper version of Unreal with Android support. Now we need to install the actual applications on our PC that allow us to do Quest packaging. Our next step is to install the Java development kit. So we're going to follow the link in my description to the Java SE17 archive downloads page, where we're going to download a very specific version of the Java development kit, and what we're looking for is 17.0.10. So we're going to scroll all the way down to where it says 17.0.10, and you want to download the one that is Windows 64 compressed archive. So it's this one right here. Go ahead and click that and download it. So inside of your downloads folder, or wherever your downloads folder is, you're going to see this JDK 17.0.10 Windows 64 bin. What you're going to do is actually just grab this entire thing and extract it, and we're going to put it into a very specific location. So you're going to go over to your C drive, and I would recommend installing all the applications we're going to install on the C drive. That way they have no issues communicating with each other because it's necessary for the packaging process. But we're going to go into our C drive, and we're going to install this one into program files, and you just kind of put it inside of program files, and then once you unzip that, you're going to see a folder titled JDK 17.0.10. So that's done for Java, but we want to remember where this location is. So this PC Windows program files, and that'll be installed there. because now we need to go and we need to make an environment variable so that our computer and Unreal knows where our Java install is. So to do that, we're going to go down to the search bar, and this is of course after we have already installed in our C drive Java. So just navigate to C, program files, and then down to Java. If you want, it's really easy to just press like J and that'll locate it. So we have it right here, and we're just going to click into this folder, and we're just going to grab this path. Now we're going to go down to our search bar here. We're going to type environment variables, and it says edit the system environment variables. So here we're going to open that system properties window. We're going to go down to environment variables right here. We're going to click that, and there you can see that I have a user variable for my username inside of this thing, and it's set to Java home. You might not have one yet, so you need to set that here. So what you're going to do if you don't have this already is go to new, and then you're going to type in the variable name, which is all caps Java _ home. And then that variable value is just the file path that we copied when we went into the Java folder. Now, I already made this environment variable, so I'm not going to do anything here. I'm just going to cancel that, but you need to press OK. And then you can just, press OK and get out of this because you're done. Now we need to install Android Studio. That's the next link in the description. It's going to bring you to this Android developers page. It'll probably automatically log you in with your Google account, but you're going to scroll down all the way to the bottom. We're going to agree to these terms and sign our soul over to Google. And here is where we're going to have access to literally every version of Android Studio that has come out ever. And we're looking for a very specific version from 2022. We're looking for Android Studio Flamingo 2022.2.1 patch 2. And that came out in May 24th of 2023. So we're gonna follow the dates on the right-hand side here, and we're gonna scroll all the way down to where it starts to say 2023. It's gonna take a minute. And we're looking specifically for something that was published in May. And let's see here. May 24th. Here we go. Android Studio Flamingo 2022 patch.2.1 patch 2, May 24th, 2023. This is the version we need. So you're going to scroll down to installers right here. So you basically click this to open it up, and you don't want to do anything weird here with these zip files. It's just going to be too much work. Instead, just go down to the Windows 64-bit Android Studio version, and you're just going to click that and download it. So you can see that version, Android Studio 2022.2.1, and that's the application that we need to launch. So what you're going to do is double click on this. I want you to install it to your C drive. It's going to automatically kind of show you where its location is going. And then you're just going to go with the default install. I've already installed this, and I'm not going to overwrite my previous install. So instead, I just want you to meet me at the Android welcome screen. So I'm going to open up my version of Android Studio. It's going to load up. And once you get to here, that's when you're going to continue. What we're concerned with inside of here is this More Actions tab. And we're going to scroll down to where it says SDK Manager. This is where we're going to install all of the necessary kind of background scripts that allow us to install software onto our Quest. What you're going to see is something like this. I want you to scroll down to where it says Hide Obsolete Packages. And I want you to click that. And what you're concerned with on this tab is specifically to get the Android API 34, Android API 35, and then Android 12L SV2. That's all we need on this page. So we're going to go over to SDK Tools, which is this tab up here, and we're going to install some more things. So at the very top here, it's going to say Android SDK Build Tools 36-RC5. We're going to expand this, and we're looking for specific things to install. What we're going to start with is 34.0.0, which is right here. And then we're also looking for 33.0.1, and then 35.0.0-RC1. Now, to be completely honest with you, I have no idea what these do. However, I had to play around with which one of these I needed to install and mess around in the Meta, Developer Hub application, forums to try and figure out exactly which ones of these I needed to combine together in order to install this damn software. So if you're going to go into the comments and ask me, hey, why am I installing these specific versions? I don't know. The meta gods said so, and therefore we must submit to their will. So we're going to close this tab, and then we're going to expand the NDK side-by-side tab. And what we're looking for inside of here is the 25.1.8937393. And you're going to click the little checkbox there to install that. And then we're going to close that, and we're going to open the Android SDK command line tools. And we're just going to do the 19.0.0 RC1 or the latest. You always want to install the latest for this one. At least in my experience, if I don't do the latest and I do one that like another guide I was reading says, it doesn't work. Because a lot of guides recommend doing 13. I've noticed that it never works if I do 13.0, but if I just do the latest, that seems to be the one that works. And so the latest for me is 19.0.0 RC1. So grab that one and make sure to click that little check mark so we're installing it. We're going to close that. We're going to expand the CMake. We're going to go down here to where it says 3.10.2.4988404 and 3.22.1. And then we need to go and install the Android emulator. The Android emulator hypervisor driver installer. And then Android SDK platform tools. The versions of these, I guess, don't matter because they don't actually give me any options for which ones to do. And so I'm assuming that the ones that are different than these versions are obsolete and they only have one version of each. Basically, once you are done selecting all these versions, you're going to press apply. It's going to pull up some essentially like, just for fun, I'll show you. So you'll go like this. I grabbed adding an extra thing here. It's going to pull up. It's going to say something like confirm change. You're going to press OK. It's going to come up with a license that you need to sign. You're going to press OK to that as well. And then you're going to install all of these things. I'm just going to cancel it because I've already installed all these things and I don't want to do it again. Now, at this point, once you have finished installing Java and Android Studio, what we need to do is restart our computers. So I'm going to wait for you here. Please just restart your computer and then come back to this video. Okay, the next step in this process is to install the MetaQuest Developer Hub application. For this, you're going to need to go to the link in my description. You're going to go to this window here, MetaQuest Developer Hub for Windows. Just get the latest version, which is version 5.4.0 or whatever it is for you when you're watching this video. You're going to click download on that. You're going to say, I agree to Meta's sole taking license. And then you're going to download that. And so that's going to appear in your downloads folder. So you're just going to go ahead and unzip that. And then you're just going to launch this install file. Now, the reason that I uninstalled my version so I can walk you through this is just because I wanted to make sure that I could show you guys something very specific in this install process that I don't want you to miss because it'll mess up everything. So you're going to open up the MetaQuest Developer Hub Setup app. It's basically the installer. You're going to click install. And so it's going to install. And then you're going to finish and run immediately. Because inside of here, a few things are going to happen. It's going to say something along the lines of, do I share data? And you're going to say no. You're going to get something that comes up that says set ADB path, and it's going to give you two options. The first one is going to be like a meta path that Meta installs on your thing. The second one is going to be one that was installed by Android Studio when you installed Android Studio, and that's going to appear after you restarted your computer. And you're going to want to click the one that is inside of Android's folder, not the one inside of Meta's folder. So you want to click the one that is Meta's and not Android's. So if you like skipped that step or you went ahead, you can go and edit it right now. It's going to restart the application, but that's going to appear right in here. And also it's going to make you log into your Meta developer account that we created earlier. So here you can see it's got my email right here in the upper part of the screen. And I have the correct ADB path as well. So I just want to kind of show you what this application is real quick while we're here. So what you're kind of concerned with for this tutorial is the device manager, but there's a lot of other helpful things in here. But we're concerned with, being able to connect our device because this is how we're actually going to load the builds that we create with Unreal Engine onto our headset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my headset here. If you followed my beginner tutorial, you know how to link your headset to your computer and even install the MetaQuest Link application. And I would assume if you're a VR developer and you've already been following some of these Unreal tutorials, you know what the MetaQuest Link application is, and it's not something that I need to cover in this tutorial. So what you're going to do is plug your headset in, like so. And the first time you do this, it's going to come up with some sort of message inside the headset that says something along the lines of, oh, do I allow USB debugging? Is that okay? And you're going to say yes to that inside of your headset. So this is going to connect. And as you can see here now, once I've connected my headset via the link cable, I can see my MetaQuest device connected up here. It's going to show me like my battery controllers. It's going to show me who the user is. I can actually take a look at the device logs as well. So now it's giving me like an active runtime interior of my device. And it also shows me what builds I've already created and put onto this headset. So I've got like my master template and the test template that I used in order to figure out all of this stuff. And so once we package, we're actually going to be adding a build with this, with this functionality. So you can actually go ahead and now close the MetaQuest Developer Hub application for now, because we're not going to need to use it for a bit. And you're going to open up your folder window, because now we need to go into where we installed Unreal. So go to wherever you installed Unreal 5.5.3. You're going to click into that install folder, and we're looking for something very specific inside of here. So we're going to go to Engine, and then we're going to go to Extras, and then we're going to go to Android. And you will not have this Android folder if you didn't follow the Android install at the beginning of the tutorial. So you're going to go into Android, and you're going to see this batch file, this Windows batch file, and it's going to say setupandroid.bat. And what you should see is that it's able to fetch the remote depository. It's going to say success, and if it doesn't succeed, it's going to show you something else than what you see on this screen here. So for me, it says it was successful. The specified value is saved, meaning that Unreal now knows exactly where my SDK path is and how it can use it to package our project. If you see anything other than this, go back to the previous steps and make sure that you installed the right things, because this is entirely dependent on what you installed during the Android setup part of this tutorial. Now that we've set up all the stuff we need for Android and Java, and also just connecting our Quest to our computer, the next thing we need to do is install some meta plugins directly to Unreal so that we can use them for the Quest packaging process. The first one you're going to do is the Unreal 5 integration plugin. There's a link in my description to this download. We're looking for version 7.2.0.1 for 5.5. So you're going to go to this little download thing and you're going to click download. And then you're also going to go follow the second link in my description to the Unreal Engine 5 platform SDK. You're going to download both of these, and then you're going to find them inside of your downloads folder, wherever they downloaded. So here you can see I've got the Unreal Meta XR plugin 7.2.0.1 and the Unreal 5 platform SDK plugin. Now these are both going to go into the same place. What I want you to do is go to the File Explorer. You're going to go to wherever you've installed Unreal Engine 5.5, and then you're going to go into Engine, Plugins, and you're going to create a new folder inside of here called Marketplace. So here is my existing Marketplace folder. Spell it exactly like this. Click inside of here, and what you're going to do is go to the Downloads folder, and you're just going to extract both of these into this Marketplace folder. So once these are unzipped, you're going to see Meta XR and Meta XR platform, and they want to look like this inside of here. You just got to make sure that these two folders are inside of your plugins Marketplace folder. Okay, so now that we've installed the plugins into our plugins, master file in our Unreal install, we're going to actually go ahead and open Unreal. So I have it located right here, and I'm going to launch just the basic Unreal Engine editor. And once that is open, I'm going to go to Games. And then I actually have two options for you. You can just start with the standard virtual reality project, or if you go to my Gumroad page, you can find my Quinn Kuslich VR template. This is the master template that has all of the tutorials I've done for the Half-Life Alyx series so far, and then it will also be updated with my new tutorials that are coming out soon. So basically, you get the option to, grab this now, which right now it has thumbstick locomotion, a procedural grip system, and hand physics, and then eventually it will have an inventory system and a full weapon system as well as the Half-Life Alyx gravity grab when I make those tutorials. So you can grab that on Gumroad right now, or you can just go with the standard virtual reality template. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to start a new project with my Quinn Kuslich virtual reality template. The project settings are the exact same as the virtual reality template, so if you don't want to buy my template, you can just go with that one, and then you're going to launch that. So I'm going to call this one QK_Quest test. And since I already have one of those, I'm just going to call it 001. And I'm going to create that project. Okay, once we have that file open, you'll see that it's pretty much the exact same as the virtual reality template that currently exists for Unreal. So we have pretty much the same screen, even if you went with the basic template. And what we need to do is actually enable our meta plugins that we just installed. So we're going to go to edit, and then we're going to go to plugins, and then we're going to just type in meta. And we're going to do the Meta XR plugin and the Meta XR platform plugin. And it's going to ask us to restart the editor. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now, because we want to make sure that these changes take effect. So go ahead and click restart, and that will restart the editor and the project. Okay, so now that we have, the plugins installed, you're gonna see Meta XR tools and right up here. So this is like the Meta XR platform stuff that we just installed. So what you're gonna do is go to edit, and we're gonna go to project settings, because here's where we're gonna configure all the stuff we need for our Android installs. First thing we're gonna do is go to maps and modes. I want you to make sure that the VR template map is set for both the editor startup map and the VR template map. Now, if you're using my tutorial to package an existing project, what you need to do is make sure that whatever level you want when you package this game, your startup map, that needs to be set as the game default map. And then as a default for both the VR and the, Quinn Kuslich template, start in VR is automatically enabled inside of the project settings. But if you didn't use either of those, then you gotta make sure that start in VR is also enabled. Now we're gonna go down to our, plugins on the left-hand side here. So we're gonna scroll down on the left-hand side all the way down to, platforms, and we're gonna click Android. And here's where we're gonna configure like the Android SDK settings that we need for packaging. So first thing we're gonna do is where it says there's like a red thing here, we're gonna do configure now, and that will turn green. And then also, if this is the first time you've ever installed Android Studio, it's gonna ask you to accept the SDK license. Mine's grayed out because I've already done it, but for you, you're gonna need to select accept SDK license. And if there's any issue with that setup android.bat, this is where that comes in. If you didn't do that correctly, you're not gonna be able to actually like click this button because it'll be grayed out, or you'll click it and then nothing will happen. And that's just kind of like, a good indicator that it wasn't installed correctly. The next thing we're going to take a look at is this Android package name. Now, this is actually what the name of the application is going to look like on your headset. And it always has to follow this format, which is com.yourcompany. The name of the project. Now, this is case sensitive. It has to be written this way, but in between these periods, it can be whatever you want. So for us, I'm going to do com.qkyt. And then I'm going to name this project, since it's just a test package of this, VR basic project, I'm just going to call it Quest Test. And since I already have one on my headset, 01. And that's what that's going to look like. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go down to our platforms right here. So where it says minimum SDK version and target SDK version. And we need to set these two specific numbers. Now, if you were to open the Unreal tools, like Unreal Project Setup tool, it's gonna actually have you go through this. So you say it, it'll say oh, we're all set up and good to go. It's gonna open this thing. And if you were to look at the top here, see how it has a bunch of All Quest, PC Link, Quest Pro, Quest 2, stuff like that. It's gonna say something along the lines of these red arrows here for you. It's gonna have these red lines here. One of them is Android SDK minimum version needs to be 32, and target version needs to be 32, and you also need to make sure that it's listed at the supported devices. And then they have these apply things here that say they'll go and do this in the project settings for you. Now, as far as I can tell with this plugin, these do not work. So it's going to be red the entire time if you're to go check out this application or pull up this plugin. So ignore these. We're going to set them manually inside of our project settings. I just wanted to let you guys know that in case you opened this up before you packaged or something and you were like, wait, this isn't going to work. These things are red. No, they're red and they're stupid. And also I learned that you just need to ignore these and follow what is written inside of both the Epic forums and the Meta forums, which is what I used to build the guide for this tutorial. So ignore these completely. We're going to go back to project settings. We're going to close this, and we're going to set our minimum SDK version to 29. And, the plugin told us to do 32, but if we did that, it's not going to package. It's going to fail immediately. And then we're going to set our target SDK version to 32, which is what, the plugin recommends. But it would have set both of these to that. And if you do that, for some reason, this package just fails. And I really don't know why. The next thing we're looking for is, this setting right here, which is package game data inside APK. Now, normally Unreal, when you do an APK package, which is like an Android, file system, from what I can tell, it will package as an APK and it will package a separate OBB file, and that's what has all of our game data. Now, in the past, we would do that, and then we would load the APK first, and then we would load the ABB, and we'd use an application like SideQuest or something like that. We don't have to do that anymore. Now we can just package game data inside APK. So now, instead of, 4 files that you have to load in order, we're only going to have to load 1 APK file onto our headset. So that's that package game data inside APK button. Now we're going to scroll down here to where it says orientation, and right now it's set to sensor landscape. We're going to change that to landscape. I'm not actually sure why we do that. It's just recommended in the documentation, and when I tried to package it with anything else, the package failed. So I just learned to do it that way. And now we're gonna scroll all the way down to the other areas inside of here where it's like all of these like red things where it says it's not configured to do this, blah, blah, blah. I don't actually know if the Google Play services really matters, but every guide I've read says confirm this. So make sure you scroll down and you see all of these areas and you confirm it. And now we're gonna scroll down even further on the platforms on the left-hand side here. We're gonna select the Android SDK. And here we need to manually set the location of all of our different locations, right? So we've got the SDK location, which we installed through Android Studio, the NDK location, which we installed through Android Studio, and then the Java, which we installed and created an environment variable for. Now, yours is probably not going to look like mine. It's probably going to be blank because mine saved this information over, and it knows exactly which type I'm supposed to be using. Now, we're going to go here, and you click this little 3-bar area, and so I'm going to go to where I kept, where my Android data is installed. So for me, it's going to be in my C drive. I'm going to click on Windows C. I'm going to click on Users, Quinn Kuslich, and that's just like the username on this device. And I'm looking for is app data. And then I'm going to go to Local, and then inside of here, I'm going to see a folder titled Android, and I'm going to grab this SDK. So I'm going to select that folder, and then that'll populate right here. And I want you to do the same. And then I need to select my NDK. So now I'm going to go back. It's now going to load into the last location I was. And now I'm going to click NDK, and then I'm going to select this 25.1.8937393. And we installed this when we were doing the Android Studio setup, so you should recognize that number. And so we're going to select that folder, and now you'll see that populates inside of our NDK path. And then finally, we need to give it our Java path. So you can go to, and you'll remember where we installed that one. That one is Windows C program files. And then we're looking for Java or JDK 17.0.10. So we'll select that, and that'll populate like so. Now, Unreal's documentation says that these will auto-populate when you package. Every time I have tried it without manually setting these destinations for the build, that build fails within 10 seconds of me clicking package. The only way that fixed it was manually targeting these locations inside of Unreal. The nice thing is that you only have to do this once. Every other time you open up an Unreal VR project, it's going to remember this information in your current build of Unreal Engine, and then you don't have to do all of this annoying setup. You just have to do like the Android and then the meta setup that we're going to get to in a second. I just want to make it clear that the reason I am making you do this is because for me on my machine, it made me do this to package, and I'm just trying to save you the headache of having to Google that and figure it out, because most tutorials kind of skip this step. And now we're going to set our SDK API level and our NDK API level. Now, it's already set it for me because, again, it's saved, but it's case sensitive, exactly spelled like this. So it'll be Android dash, and so this is the SDK level, and that's going to be 34. And then for the NDK level, it's going to be Android dash 29, like so. All right, so just to be safe, in case we crash the engine, just go to File, Save All. Now we need to go down to the plugin section here, and we're looking for Meta XR. And here we're going to see a bunch of different things, and we need to check a few things. So the first thing we're going to do is check out this splash image. So once we launch the application, it's going to give us a splash image, and you could load in a custom splash image here. And I'm actually looking into how to do that currently, but I think just for fun, I'm going to try and load a splash image that I've already created. So I'll just go over to my, where I hide all my items, and I'm just going to load in my own custom splash, and that adds it there. So now you can see that when I package this, I should see in the headset that I have my own custom splash image, and you can load in your own as well. I'm going to be making a tutorial on how to do custom splash images and icons and other things like that at some point in the future. But if you kind of want to just Google what you need for a splash image, the dimensions are 720 by 370. Okay, so now we're going to scroll down to this general section, and you're going to see XR API. So for this one, it's actually should be set as Oculus OVR plugin plus OpenXR backend, and that's current recommended. So you shouldn't need to change this, but just in case you do, this is the one you want. And then for the color space, we're going to go with P3 recommended as well. This I read from the Unreal Engine documentation, and it was automatically set in the first project that I launched when I was testing this out in the first place. So I guess you could play around with the different ones here. But if P3 is, if you're building to the Quest 3, I'm assuming that's what P3 is, because it's got the Quest 1, Rift S, and like CV1 listed here, which is crazy that they still have an option for CV1 because that headset was discontinued in 2016. No, wait, no, it wasn't discontinued. It was discontinued in like 2020 or something. Jesus, it's been a minute. And then we're going to scroll down to this mobile tab right here, and the only thing we're concerned with inside of here is the supported MetaQuest devices. And here we're going to add the headset that we're packaging to. It's going to add an index. This is an array. And I am packaging to my MetaQuest 3. Like, I just have a standard MetaQuest 3. But if you want to, you can add, the Quest 2 and the Quest 3S if that's, necessary. So I'm just going to do the MetaQuest 3. Because that's what I'm concerned with. And now I'm going to save all, and I'm going to close the project settings. This is pretty much everything that we need now to kick off a build. So what we're going to do, right, is we're going to go up to platforms here, and you can actually see your Quest 3 like listed here if you still have it plugged in through Developer Hub, but we're not going to package it directly to the headset like that because it just takes longer. Instead, we're going to go down to Android, and we're going to select ASTC. And then just because we're doing a test build, just use the project setting, which is going to be development. If you were actually like trying to release your game, you would go with a shipping version, all right? Because that disables all screen messages and a bunch of background stuff that's used for debugging. You're concerned with, debugging right now, so you're going to do that development version. And then the packaging method we're going to be using is Android ASTC. And that's going to give us, like an install. It's going to give us an APK, and that's what we're actually loading onto the headset. And then it gives us one other file that I forgot the name of. So basically, you just go up to where it says package project. And then we're going to go to, wherever you keep your things. I usually do my Quest packages in a separate folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this folder that I've created called the Quest packages. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this Quest test. I'm going to click into this folder, and then I'm going to select that. And now you can see that it started packaging. Now you want to pull up the output log, because if any errors come in, they're going to show you right away when the package fails. And usually if this is going to fail, it's going to fail for one of two reasons. The first one is you didn't set up something correctly in Android Studio or in any other step of this tutorial, and it will usually tell you exactly what file you're missing inside of this thing. So you're just going to look for something that's red or yellow or something where it says I couldn't find this or I couldn't start this. The second reason is a bit more of a pain in the ass. It's because you've got something too big or something weird inside of your project that doesn't want to package to the Quest, and that's going to require some more intensive debugging. Now, a lot of times in the past when people have followed this tutorial, they have loaded an Epic Games sample marketplace pack directly into their Quest project and then tried to package that to the Quest. Now, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but that's just not going to work. And so that could be a reason that your stuff isn't packaging. So if you leave me a comment saying hey, random error from this asset pack, is stopping me, I'm going to basically be like, I don't know. I've never used that asset pack. I don't know what the issue is. But if you get an issue that's like, hey, you're missing this file or you're doing this, go ahead and put that in the comment section, because I can help you with that and I can help you find a solution. Because it could be just something weird with, where the files were installed or how the Android setup went. And stuff like that happens because packaging is annoying, and learning how to read these log files is really important. And I'm still getting used to it as well. I'm trying to package my thesis game right now, which is a massive project that took a year to develop, and I am failing because the assets we created for that game we originally developed for the Rift S to run on PC, and now we're trying to package it to a standalone device. So as you can see, that package has completed. Once our package was successful, you can navigate to wherever you actually set the install. Once we clicked package, you're going to see a new folder here called Android ASTC. Now, the only thing inside of this folder that we're concerned with is, our actual APK. So for me, you saw me name it earlier. It was QK_quest_test 001. So that's what we're going to see inside of here. Quest packages, quest. Just want to make sure I've got the right one. Yes, quest packages, quest test 001. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the MetaQuest Developer Hub application. We're going to plug in our headset, and you'll see it's up here again. It says active. And we're actually going to install the build that we just made onto our headset. So we're going to go over here. We're going to click Add Build. We're going to go over to QK Quest Test 001. Make sure that it's just the APK. We don't want to do the batch files or anything. You just click that, you press Open, and it's going to start to install onto your headset. Now, sometimes you'll get an error that'll say something like APK failed to install, and then it'll just continue to load forever and never go on to your headset because it fails at the beginning, and MetaQuest Developer Hub has this weird bug where it just doesn't tell you that it's not actually doing anything. But I can tell you that the reason that might happen is because there's something messed up with how you spelled Android inside of these two things in the Android SDK in your project settings. It's got to be spelled correctly, and if you're using Unreal 5.5.3, it has to be -34 and -29. Originally, I didn't write Android in here. I just put 34 and 29 because that's what I read in the documentation on Epic. And that was wrong. It didn't work. It packaged successfully, but then when I loaded it onto my headset, it just failed. So that took me an hour and a half, and I suffered, so you don't have to. So that should fix that issue if it doesn't load on. But now that it is loaded on to our headset, we should be able to now unplug it from our computer because it's loaded onto our headset as a device and test it out. All right, so here I am inside of my Quest headset. As you can see here, I've got, the camera, so I can just show you. But if I go over to my library, I can see all of my games that I install from the store, but then I can also see a folder here after I toggle developer mode that says, it's like a folder with a question mark on it. That's where all of our applications that we install onto the headset go. So here you can see QK_quest test 001. That's the name of the APK that I packaged outside of Unreal. So if I go to launch that, you can see that I have my splash screen for my Unreal project, and then it loads me in to my scene. And now I have my Unreal scene packaged to my headset. A few things I've noticed: if you're using my template, you can see that the decal in the project file didn't load. There's some issue that I found recently with deferred decals in Unreal. They don't package well to the Quest, but all the other functionalities here, we have the thumbstick locomotion, we've got the Half-Life Alyx feet from the last tutorial, and they fully animate over from where we're standing, just like they do in the Half-Life Alyx game. And if I teleport over, there's a bug right now where they don't disappear. So I will fix that in the template. You will not see that when you download the template because I will have fixed it by the time you purchase that. But there's also hand physics in this template. So you can actually see, the hands interacting with things. I'm gonna try and get a little further away here. So here's my hand, intersecting with Geo. And if I like pick up objects, there's the procedural grip system that I created, and then those also interact with Geo, like so. So I can like push stuff around and do stuff like that. And it's pretty accurate in this new file with the different editor settings. And then I also have like my menu, so that toggles on. I got my collision debug, which I can see right here. It looks weird on the Quest, so that's another thing I've noticed is like the collision debug loads kind of funny in the Quest version of the application. So that's just something weird that I found as of late. But yeah, there's my template running perfectly fine. And that's all on the quest. I can just close out of the APK when I'm done. That is the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any issues, please leave them in the comments and I will try to help you. My next tutorial should be either inventory or guns. It'll probably be inventory because my friend Joe is actually going to send me an older weapons template that he created back when we were in college, and I'm just kind of waiting on him to send me that, but it might take a bit because he's slow. I'm gonna do the inventory system, or maybe even the Half-Life Alyx grab system first, and that will be updated into the template that I showed off in this video, as well as it will be published as its own standalone thing if you don't want to pay for the full price template. And then it'll also be, a tutorial on YouTube for free. So I will post that as soon as I can. There's another tutorial I want to do, regarding the meta quest stuff and plugins that I found. One that's really useful where it allows you to develop for VR without actually having to put your headset on. So I've been investigating that, and I want to, learn how it works. It's called the MetaQuest Simulator or something like that. I want to figure out how that works and then create a tutorial for you guys so that you know how to use it too. Thank you so much for watching, and there's a bunch of my other tutorials linked after this one if you want to follow those as well. I was glad that this worked.